Hello, welcome to another episode of Meet the Manager. I am joined today by another content creator, Barky MacLovin. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. So I kind of led with the content creator. You've done quite a few shows on your channel and kind of led there. Is that something you plan to kind of keep going with?
Yeah, it's a time thing. I actually, I do content and stuff for my Lego store that I run part time, which is in the background. And that's generally the priority. And then if I can get to some streams, and I've also kind of shot myself in the foot because I've now got 12 clubs, and that
Yeah,
takes a lot to manage. I don't know how Trust does it. I have no idea, but yeah, that's probably part of the reason why there hasn't been as much content from me lately.
yeah, I get that completely. Yeah, trust is really interesting. When he had 70 and he kind of explained his process, I was like, okay, that's understandable. You're just clicking through 140 clicks. There's not really a lot of thinking, planning, no scouting. And I know he does some of the tactics stuff for a couple of the higher end teams that he prioritizes, but for the most part, a lot of the clubs it's just click, 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 click. He's up over like 110 now or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm losing count. I don't know how he's keeping count, but it's just even having. I think I just have too much of a vested interest in all my clubs, so
sure.
I want everyone to do well, and I'm not worried about the results for my Spark teams, but then I am. Especially there's one at the moment that's in like 11th, and I'm like, no, I can't get demoted, So I think
Yeah,
that's probably my issue is that yeah, I say I'm not going to be invested, and I'll just progression, or I'll just MFL farm, but no,
sure.
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the things that I think is really interesting and unique about Trust is that he is so committed to the process that he's kind of comfortable with the pros and cons. I know he was on with Laird pretty recently, and um, very much paraphrasing, he was like, "Are do you mind if teams get relegated?" And he was kind of like, "Not really." And he was
Yeah,
like, that
yeah,
just means that other teams are going up and will rebalance players, and like
yeah,
I have 120 teams, so it just balances itself out. Some go up, some go down, and everyone ends up where they're supposed to be. And it's kind of like okay, and his process is it's thought through, so it's fun. But enough on trust. We'll want
yeah.
to chat with you. So I think most people are familiar, but regular question I have is, can you tell us where you're from?
Yeah, so I am in Wellington, New Zealand. In fact, I thought I'd put some of my hometown jerseys up there. So born in Wellington, lived in a place called Napier, so kind of the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand. A little bit warmer than where I am currently, and I've been back in Wellington for about 15 years. So it's kind of this is home, but also I've got home up there, so my family are all sort of that way. It's the capital. It's not a biggest city. Doesn't feel like a big one anyway. I've been to a few places that are a lot bigger, but yeah, it's quite fun. Um, and so time zone is obviously an issue to figure everything out, and even just trying to organize this. I think we've probably been
Yeah,
organizing it for 2 months just to figure out a time that works. So
yeah, yeah. Well, we both have schedules moving in different directions, and then the time is quite unique. I have a couple of slots that make sense for um, European, couple of slots that like I can kind of squeeze in with Eastern, Central, even West Coast guys that kind of make sense where um, the times can overlap. It was a bit trickier with us because we're talking about different days and different time zones, and
yeah,
it's Thursday for me and it's Friday for you. So
yeah, Friday morning.
um, I kind of prided myself on being like pretty good with time zones, and I just gave up when it came to trying to figure out. I'm like, we got to just use Google because
Yeah,
I
that's what
can't
works.
figure it out. You were talking about we were talking about being in different time zones, and one of the questions that I have further down the list is what time do your games generally run? I guess cup games and regular matches are different, and you are in a variety of leagues, but kind of what's the range of when your games run?
Yeah, so cup matches are very early hours of the morning. So I think at the moment it's between two a.m. and 5:30. So I've got a Flint team, which is quite low, and then all the way up to my bronze team currently. So that's a big wide range. And then the league matches are between about 7 a.m. and 9:30. The weird thing is we also have daylight savings over here, so I'm trying to like adjust to that because now games are an hour. So it used to be 8:30. I used to be able to get to work and then sort of watch my top team play, and now it's checking it at my first sort of morning break and things. But yeah, that's sort of the time frame. So yeah, early morning, and then training happens for me at the moment about 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So it's everyone goes, I woke up and I checked training, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm waiting for my +1s to come through. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. We hear from quite a few like U.S. guys that all kind of have like a similar window, and then the European guys you often hear, like Kev will say that he's watching Diamond at 10 o'clock at night. It's 5 for us. It's probably going on right now. And so I was like, what time is your stuff? So kind of fun. It's interesting though. I guess you get to wake up and kind of run through teams as your morning routine. So that's kind of fun, kind of a different change.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm 100% against any live management of matches because I am not getting up between 2 and 5:30. And as someone who likes having a good cup run, that would stuff me. So whoever's listening, Luca, if you're out there, whoever's there, no live matches, please.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of feel similarly. I think either the preset tactics would have to be like really dynamic, or you would have to really limit live updates to just really give a fairness. Because a lot of people are in the same boat. But one of the kind of theories or ideas that's come around is doing a second pyramid. If there was a second pyramid that opened up that was more tailored towards like your time zone, like East Asia, and maybe some of the time zones that are more concurrent with, as it relates to pack drops and some of that stuff. Do you think you would be tempted to stay on kind of the European NA pyramid, or do you think you would be tempted to move to kind of like an East Asia, New Zealand, Australia pyramid?
Yeah, that'd be quite cool. I think that would work quite nicely for like a regional format. If you've got, a separate, whatever, it's a cup competition or whatever, how you can run it, or leagues, but having that there, I think you'd probably only really want to be doing 1 or 2 clubs max. So I actually think like live matches limits the amount of clubs that people would be able to run and have. So like Trust just wouldn't do anything with it, right? And other people who've got sort of 20, 25, like I know Nips at something about that. You're just not going to be able to run them. So I think maybe having one and some type of difference would be quite cool. I don't know how that works in terms of players moving across. Like, do you send someone to the regions?
Yeah.
I can just see like you're just a guy that's not scoring for you. Now you're off. You're shipped out of the main league and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know how that would work necessarily. But I wouldn't see myself having more than one club doing that. I like the fact that MFL is, you don't have to manage live or, watch live. You watch whenever you want. That's kind of, I think, allows a slightly wider strategy and planning and things like that. And, like the preset tactics are kind of covering a lot of that. There's nothing worse than watching a game and 70 minutes has rolled past. You've had no shots and you're down 1-0 and you're thinking, I just want to go like full out attack. So that kind of covers it now. So I don't think there's too many issues with that at all.
Yeah. I will say, and I've said this in the past, I'll continue to say it. One of the things I do like is the team is very open to feedback and suggestions. I will qualify that and say good feedback and good suggestions. We see some bad feedback and some bad suggestions in Discord. They do a really good job of kind of filtering that out, listening. So I do have a lot of trust in kind of the future. Who knows? There may be ideas that they have down the line that they it'll all make sense to us, right? If they make some big change where now we're like, I can't ever see that working. And then they're like, well, we put in this qualifier and we're like, oh, I get it now. So we'll see. Plenty more to come. And I think we've got some time and some opportunity to iron that out. But you elaborated to tactics this season. What have been your favorite tactics? What's worked for you? Well, let me ask first, have you dabbled in them much, or are you kind of avoiding them to begin with?
The preset ones you're talking about?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a policy with any Football Manager game that the engine's generally designed to work on a balanced process. And so I know early on when I was signing in and starting, Jimbo was running very extreme tactics and that wasn't working anymore. And I think as an engine gets slowly worked out, and maybe that's my history of just playing games, if you do anything too outrageous, your team just kind of falls apart no matter how good you think it is. And so with any kind of new update or new, I guess, plan, I'm fairly balanced, which means my only preset tactic, I've called it, oh crap, we're losing. And that's at 75 minutes, we go all out attack. And like a very offensive lineup, I think goes from more direct and, just the sensible thing that you would do. I don't know if that's working very well at all, but like there seems to be a good mix of results so far. The hard part for me this season is I had 2 teams get promoted last season. Tried to scramble. I was actually going to sell my top club and sort of restart with another club, and because I could not sell it at the price, I was like, "This is too cheap. This is too cheap." I ended up filling it and bought 2 more rares to have some type of revenue share coming in. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily had the biggest impact for my results. I think it's probably been detrimental to me if someone's played something, if they've gone 2-0 down at half time, then they've played a bit more attacking. And I guess maybe because I don't have a tactic when I'm ahead, that's probably the one thing that I haven't done. Yeah, mainly because I'm like, if I change it when I'm leading, I can just see it something else happening, and you can see it straight away. So I've tried to do that. One thing I want to do, and it's again been a time thing, is to look around that 75-minute mark and go, what actually happened when I was losing? Did anything change? Or was it those? And I haven't really been able to get into it, but I'll probably look at sort of my bronze and iron teams, and I kind of just assume that that's going to drop down to spark, because if you can make a little tweak that's giving you an advantage at those levels, I think it gives you a much bigger advantage in spark. So yeah, I'll probably have a look at that maybe towards the end of the season. I always like scoping out Discord as well and stealing ideas from people and and applying them and going, no, I'm never listening to that person again, or I'm yeah. So anytime I see a Kev post, I'm like, oh, what's he choosing now? And there's some people that I've seen post and I go, I've been in your team 3 or 4-0 every time I played you. I'm not doing that. I'll do the opposite and see if it works. So yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that's one of the reasons I like doing the show is I get to chat with really smart managers and be able to pick their brains and be like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to try and work that in.
Hopefully I share some smart ideas.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. So you talked about getting up into it's Iron and Stone. Do you have 2 teams that you feel like kind of stretched your roster thin, or was it just the Iron team?
No, it's very stretched at the moment. I'm quite bottom heavy, and I think that was just I got a little bit excited opening all my common packs a couple of seasons ago, and then kind of getting stuck with guys. So I've got 12 clubs in total. I've got a bronze, an iron, a stone, and ice. I had 2 ice last season, but one literally got relegated on the last day, which was a bit annoying. And then the bronze and the iron have gone up, and I've actually bought the stone one this season because they were at $50. And I was like, this is too cheap for a stone. Like, this is ridiculous. So that may even get relegated, and I'll end up with 2 ice again, which is completely fine. And then I've got, I think I've got 7 spark. If I've got my numbers right. Yeah, and then a Flint team that's actually in the lead at the moment, so that could get promoted, or even win the league, which would be nice. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. So it's definitely stretched in terms of, I think because I'm trying to stay competitive. I'm putting some stronger limited guys into some stronger limited guys into some of the teams, and it does make things stretch. I've only got, I think, 6 rares in total, and a couple of those guys were actually tier breaks. So like Genovese, the 77 centre back for Padres, I got him in an uncommon pack, which is quite nice. But yeah, it does seem fairly stretched. Most of my guys are in my own agency as well, so I don't have many people out on loan. I've got one in Patron Saints, but yeah, pretty stretched. And most of my teams are under strength in a league because I don't want to be the person projected second and I get 4th. Like, that's just dumb to me. I'd rather be, which I had last season with La Pulga, 10th or 11th, and I'm doing pretty well. So that's kind of my sort of strategy. I like being the underdog a little bit.
Yeah. So I have just some. looking very quickly at your Stone team, this Barky team is probably towards the bottom half of the
Yep.
projection. Is that correct?
I think I'm either second to bottom or bottom. But I mean, in saying that, La Pulga, my top team in Iron last season, I had, I think, 5 or 6 of my own players. Even though I thought I'd strengthened, like I basically gave up almost all my rev share. I think I had like 20% left or something. Last season, and similar this season, but last season Iron, they were still projected 11th, and I ended up getting second and got promoted. So it's kind of projections are projections, you know. Like there's a lot to be said about an overall ranking rather than, or rating rather than specific attributes. So, I mean, I know this season though I'm very understrengthened in bronze because I didn't want to give up all my rev share. Like I've only got 2 players in the team that are mine, and then I've just tried to wrangle as much as I can from everyone else. I mean, okay start to the season, you know, like we're not even the lowest ranked team. Tough result this morning, but I think I've still got to play one of the bottom 3. Even if that end up in a playoff, like that's a good season for me. Really, it was just I just wanted to make sure I could fill it, so I didn't have to sell.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not quite this extreme. I had kind of a similar process with my Stone team that I have a lot of guys loaned in and trying to manage the rev share and be competitive. And the other thing that's nice is the cup. The cup's balanced, so it looks like you're doing quite well in the cup to start off the season.
And that's I was gonna say it's funny because I rotate generally in the cup for teams that I want to keep in a division, and so that's actually been my full rotations. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm doing something slightly off. I need to put some guy in there. So that'll be something I'll look at over the next couple of games. I generally have sort of like the mid-season break is when I reassess and particularly target, like there was a game, was it this morning maybe, or a couple of days ago where, it was a narrow loss and Pirates King, that was Filibuster, and I think I got smashed by him last season. He won our league. And I looked at it and went, actually, like that's not too far off. Like I dominated possession, I had more XG, like that to me is like I should have won that game. So making a couple of tweaks, or actually just hoping that the variance works itself out in the second game. It just looks unlucky in that game, and they're mid-table, so it's kind of I feel like I'm okay. I maybe just haven't had the nice results that I got last season, where I think I won every game in the first half of the season. So
yeah. These I know typically these come in as low XG. The 2 ones on the far, you can see the mouse, right? But these get scored a lot, I've noticed. So it's kind of interesting when you use XG as a tool, because this shows as kind of a low scoring opportunity, but like this shot gets scored so often when that winger goes to the byline.
Who misses it from that? Like, come on, people. Who was it? Was that Plaza? Is that the centre mid? He's getting sacked.
Yeah.
Who's he from?
Yeah, Plaza.
Shocking. And that's funny because I think if you click into him, I don't know if you can click through that way. I feel like he's got one of the highest shooting in my team.
Get it from here. 55.
Okay, no, he's not. Someone else. Okay, so there's a perfect example. So actually, he shouldn't be as far forward as that, right? Like, so then for the next game, I'm going, okay, I might adjust individual instructions and make sure he's a bit more defensive. Or if I'm playing a team where I know I can beat them, putting in my centre mids that have high shooting, because it does seem to be in the way I play that my centre mids are pushing into the box and scoring, while my CDM is sort of holding back. And so, some good analysis there. Thank you. So I can try and take it to the next game.
I have really liked these heat maps and shot charts, and I may be fooling myself into thinking that I'm using them well and I may be getting lucky, but I just noticed as well. I clicked on the shot chart. I'm gonna get it eventually.
That's right.
It takes you to the event. I didn't know that it did that.
Right.
You can actually see where he comes in. Comes by line and then goes after it, which that's really cool. That's a great feature. I didn't know that was there. And hopefully I'm not making a fool of myself and everyone's like, how did you not know that? But
I didn't know that, so there we go. We both fools. I honestly, there are things that I've been, just discovering that everyone else thought was normal, and I didn't know it was there, but trying to think that I was fairly well versed on what happens. So yeah, but I mean, like, I think the thing for me is it's with the more clubs that you have, the less time I'm able to spend looking at something like that.
Yep.
And like I've got a full-time job, I run my own business on the side. I've got
Yep.
a child and family, and there's just a lot of things that are happening. So I'm not too not able to get in too much of the details. So I'm trying to set up most of my teams in a similar way, and then sort of go from there.
Yeah. Yep. That makes a ton of sense. Are you running like the same or similar formations that looks like you're in a 4-3-3-D? Are you in a lot of 4-3-3 throughout your teams?
Yeah, basically. And that was from my very first club that I bought into halfway through the season. I think I said this in Shannon when do it, but yeah, basically bought in mid-season. They were like a decent overall for the division in ice, and they were like second to bottom or last. And I looked at it thinking, this team should be better than what it is. It had a good rev share, so I bought into it, not really knowing too much about the game at that time. And all of a sudden, it was like, okay, so what would I do in a Football Manager game? So look at tactics. Okay, he's playing a 4-2-4 and, losing 4-3. So I'm like, okay, well, let's park a bus. Let's try and get like a couple of points to start with. So, okay, what's a defensive formation? And I play actual football. And so my role is generally, I normally play as a CDM. So I'm like, okay, we'll play 4-3-3-D. We'll make sure the CDM is like, that playmaker type role. We'll have, fast wingers. That seems to work. Like, this is what's working in the real life at the moment. Like Forest last, start of the season, or when I started playing, was tearing up the Prem because they're playing 4-3-3-D counters. And I was like, okay, let's do that, see if it works. And it did. So I was like, okay, next season, do the same. And then it seems to have been really just kind of tweaking little things, just moving the sliders up slightly or down. There was one season where I completely changed how whether I went direct or balanced. And this season I've noticed there's a big shift, at least for my formations, over, like, I'm not getting as many shots from balanced, and I'm not getting as many, like, my passing's way down when it's direct. So I haven't found like there's something that I need to shift to kind of get the ball quickly to strikers and chances, rather than just trying to hit long balls and missing the strikers, or we're taking too long to get them and then we're not playing it on a counter. So it's trying to figuring out that this season, which I haven't got close to yet.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's going to be a little challenging is you have so many lone players in, and I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume a lot of these are guys that you're loading in for the first or second time, not guys that you've had for 3 or 4 or 5 seasons. That's, in my opinion, like one of the hardest things, is to try to figure out like what works and then blend guys in. And you're also usually quite limited when, and I say I mean kind of everybody, when you're loaning guys in, like, you don't get your pick of the litter from like stats, versus if you were pulling guys off the marketplace and you can say like, oh, this CDM shoots well, but like I don't use him that well. Loaning guys in is a really delicate balance, unless you have like a great relationship with like a Ron John, that you're like, hey, can I have these 16 players?
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, the way the game works, the higher up you get, the more competitive it is to try and fill a lineup, because most people who are playing higher up are putting their 18 best guys in their team, and you're getting what's left over. And so it's really been tricky. And the hard thing for me this season is I was just trying to fill the team, let alone, do anything. So I think you can see there, like, the left back in this team, that's the rotation for this game. And next time I want to make sure I'm full strength against this team. But, 76 rated is a drop of like 6 overall. And I know there's things that are not quite perfect on it. So it's really hard to then, be competitive when, and again, it's a good card, but it's, like, I'm getting a left wing back first. Like that, even just that, trying to find a primary position that I can get on a rev share so I can still keep something. Or even just fill in a roster. So yeah, you're right. It's really difficult. And then, you find a guy that you really like, and thankfully Calver's still giving me Sepulveda, who was tearing it up in iron, but now he's in bronze and finding it a little bit tricky. Like, there's that sort of step up as well. And I had another example where, I can't remember who I'd loaned. I think maybe Favmiz or somebody else. Calver's last as well. But, like, I get a keeper, and they progress +4 in a season, and you're like, oh, he's so good now. And then what happens next season? The manager wants to use him, right? So, that's kind of the hard thing. So the only thing I've really done to kind of set myself up for the future is I bought, I don't know if you can see him there. It's a bit small on my screen, but a 20-year-old centre back. Somebody that belongs to me. Balin or something like that. Balan.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, there we go. And so if you go to his progression, I feel like this is an absolute steal because he's already gone +2, and he's gone up like if you look at his sort of like overall stats, he's gone up like +6 in different attributes. So I think he's an absolute steal and a good all round. Like already good pace and passing. As long as that physical starts picking up, or the defense goes, like you're looking at 4 or 5 seasons time as a legendary. So again, that's a good investment, but also someone I can play as a starting role no matter what he is. So that's the only sort of like full investment that I've gone to, but everything else is just going to be loaned in, and we'll see how we go for the season.
Yeah, cool. That's nice. Quite balanced shooting. I'm going to say it doesn't matter. Somebody somewhere is going to disagree with me, but so often with center backs, you see the one trick pony is the coin that the phrase that's been coined, but you just see that high defensive stat, and everything else is low, and you got to figure out how to use him. But he's not that way. The passing and dribbling are very reasonable. Physical's maybe a tad low, but I don't know if it's like real life. He's 20, should get a little stronger. So
exactly, that's interesting. Looking at we don't know a whole lot of these things for the stats, but what I've noticed, at least from the commons that I've had, if guys are already high passing, not high passing, high pace and high physical, maybe the defense is really low, and that defense, is really what brings it overall up for a defender. If they're 17, 18, or in this guy's case 20, they seem to progress quite a bit in their main stat, because there is supposed to be, according to the white paper, that gap between what they come in at and their potential. That's what we're told. So I've definitely noticed that if I can find a guy, and I've done this with commons, like buying a $1 common guy that's, say, about to tier break, and he maybe has, again, low defense or low passing, I've noticed that stat seems to improve quite quickly. That doesn't apply to everybody, obviously, and there's guys who are going to buy and not going to do anything, but it does seem to be that, and I guess that's where the premium's going to come in for people buying, a guy like this. So I feel like it was a bit of a steal. I got him for 75, which, not for, I think, or 65, 85?
85, yeah.
85, yeah. Like for what, he was actually can turn into, like a 24-year-old legendary centre back is at least $100, right? So four seasons, we're gonna hope he ticks on, and and I also was trying to time it for, that's hopefully, well, I don't say hopefully, but I think that's going to be kind of one of the seasons where a lot of people are having guys retire, and so there's going to be a big scramble for players. And if you've got somebody that's, again, good all-round stats, showing progression at a good age, it's going to go, I feel like that's going to be a good investment for me. So long may he progress.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be really interesting to see that time window, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons down, when the curve starts to bend the other way a little bit. The pack releases have been a little bit smaller, and to your point, a lot of the guys that were kind of the original beta guys that had those extra long careers, because the guys, the managers in gold, platinum, silver, they don't seem like they're going anywhere. A lot of those managers have been with the game for years. I think where we've seen a lot more movement is at the lower levels. Is it the spark guys that come in? Maybe guys came in from So Rare somewhere else, they gave it a try, and then they're back playing Prem and So Rare or whatever. We've seen a lot more movement there, but like I haven't seen a lot of movement from the bigger names. The bigger names that I've seen in Diamond and Platinum, like they've been here for a long time for the most part.
Yeah. And they're just going to get stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So if we have that the power creep moving negatively, then to your point, like this guy may be a very strong center back in gold, is an 83 or even higher. Like that might be a high gold or low platinum guy. Who knows how things will map out? But it's getting very hard to get legendaries because of how few rares are getting released, and there's no legendary packs anymore. So that curve at that level should be even more drastic than maybe like an uncommon or a common.
And it's just the way like the MFL works, right? Everything's quite bottom heavy. Like the people are getting enough for a common or a limited, and they're not saving over 4 seasons for a rare. You know, they're going open, hope he's gonna go 40 progression. You know, like there's, and I think we've kind of seen that the progression has not been what people have expected. So again, I'm looking when I'm buying players, I'm looking at also if I wasn't to use them in a club, like say La Pulga gets relegated, I probably don't want 2 irons next season. I'll sell. Okay, if I can't play him somewhere, I want to loan him out. Well, if he starts progressing, you're right. You know, he might end up as a silver or gold player. And then the MFL rev share I'm getting from him is even higher than what I was expecting. So to me, I looked at that going 12 seasons, 85. I think I was working at about, $7 a season. What's my rev share I'm going to get from him? I think a bronze I was going to keep about 600 or 800, something like that. Okay, so that's at least a common player if it goes up and down. And just trying to factor that, and I think that's something that, a lot of people try and do. But yeah, I saw that straight away and went, second I saw progression first season, I'm done. Bye. Yeah. I was supposed to slowly like sell a little bit and get a bit back out and kind of, play a bit more sustainably. And then I saw him and went, where's the credit card? There we go. Or debit card. And away we went.
Yeah, and he's +1 already, kind of in the first half of the season. Yeah. So,
and if you go back into like that and go this like current season for progression, sort of on like the main squad tab.
Yeah.
Sorry, so X out of that one, yeah, and go progression current season. You'll see that he's actually gone a lot more than just his overall. Yes, current season.
Oh, I have custom on.
Yep.
Yep.
And so he is. Yeah. So you can see like that's. There we go. Like that's bigger than even just a +1, right? There's like a couple of different attributes going up multiple stats, and we're a quarter of the way through. So yeah, I've got some high hopes for him. I just want that physical to get up a bit because that's going to be a really big turn off for anyone higher up, I think.
Yeah. I think I don't know that I've seen it or felt it a ton, but I know that they added physical as a way to slow down pace. So I think as people start to notice that a bit more, then for sure, physical maybe a bit more relevant, or that may be something to your point that turns people off. Really a progression here from Silence Lake, but yeah, that what was that 5-7 points from Balan? So yeah, you may have a gem on your hands. That may be a lot of fun.
That's the hope.
Yeah. So if he flies up the ranks, do you find yourself flipping him? Like, let's say he hits Lego end of next season. Do you see yourself flipping him to work back with that money, or do you see yourself loaning him out using that MFL share to kind of keep using sustainably?
Yeah, I think if he's going up like 2 or 3 this season, I'm probably going to sit on it for a couple of seasons and look to sell again when that curve is all these players retiring. But it's one of those ones where I've said that with like another guy on my team, Cornelison. I bought him as an uncommon because he had 91 pace as a winger, and now he's progressed to rare. And I'm like, yeah, I'll sell him, but the price I'll sell him at, no one wants to buy him at that price. Oh, I guess he's mine then, and he's 24, 25 at the moment, but he's worth enough to me to keep an eye on, and we'll probably chat about it at some point, but the team with my old man, we needed a winger. Wingers are really hard to find, so it's kind of like it's you got to fill a spot. So yeah, definitely the plan is to sort of keep him for 3 or 4 seasons and then try and make a profit, I guess, on it. And obviously he's filled a spot in the time, in the squad at the time. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But I'll probably come back and watch this in 4 seasons, and I haven't done what I've told you.
You have all the same names. What was the guy's name that was the uncommon to Terraria? Is it this guy here?
I think his name is, yeah. Yeah, I think it sounds quite similar to what Nep's won, wasn't it? Like Cornelison or something. So I'm assuming he's going to Ultimate as well. So, but yeah, his progression, if you click in progression for that one, like was really good, and then it's just tanked. So, but again, that was a tier break. So we'll hope that it's maybe just sort of getting stuck there. But yeah, He looked so good when I bought him. He definitely progressed to rare, obviously, but yeah. But I mean, like that's exactly the kind of stats that I look for in a winger. And he's like last season, he was my highest assist in Iron, and every time I played him, like I won. So
Yeah, 11
yeah, there you
assists.
go. Yeah, just like, and you don't need goals if he's just pinging it into the striker. So yeah, again, that's like it's not worth me trying to sell for a lower price and buy someone similar, or try and loan someone in when it's just not going to be worth it. So
Yeah,
he's been good. Good number of assists already as well for Iron. So
yeah. That 75 is low for Iron as a general statement,
yep.
but it's interesting. The stats are superseding the individual stats are superseding the face value,
Yep.
or the face amount. That was something that it took me way too long to kind of adjust to. And the other side of that, and saw you had a couple loans from Palmer, that I realized from chatting with Palmer is Palmer was saying that he looks at the individual stats and then marries them in with formation, which really stood out to me as he talked about, like, hey, if I run a 3-5-2, then I probably want wingers or wide mids that can support a little bit more defensively, or if I have forward swimmers or wide, then maybe it's less important and they're acting more like wingers, and low defense isn't such an issue. I had Brian on, and Brian had run some really interesting. He's Sao Paulo and Diamond this year. Really interesting approach to getting those wide mids with really, really high defensive stats, and he's using them in kind of a unique way to try and find his own kind of unique spin on it. He felt like center mids were expensive for the same value, and so he attacked an individual stat that was kind of like out of place, so to speak, but then finagled it back in place. So yeah, that's awesome to see you having success with a player that's too low. I'm putting up in quotations,
Totally.
too low for their league. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think just like that's the whole concept of overall versus attributes, where this guy has an outstanding level of pace, and he's probably one that I've watched quite a bit in game in terms of like I used to watch. I haven't as much this season, but my top team every single game, clicking through highlights, and the highlights are generally we've won the ball in defense, hit it out to the winger, and he's hit this like outrageous through ball, and my strikers run on and scored, and that happened time and time again. So I'm like, okay, from what I'm seeing at least, I want a winger with high pace, high passing. Now, there's an offset to that. If they've got extreme dribbling and not maybe the best passing, then I just set them to dribble more. So it's kind of, you're playing to your strengths. And that's why I think the game works so well, because what works for one person might not work for somebody else because of the makeup of their team. And it also kind of means there's no real meta. I mean, everyone tries to say there's one, but there's always a counter to every formation. Like, I'm not going to say right now, but I know the formation that destroys me every single time. And so if I've seen somebody play that like the first round and I've lost, ridiculously, I honestly am going to switch something up. I'm going to play like a park the bus and be really annoying, or, like have everything on like full attack. Or 4-2-4 seems to be a good like counter sometimes. So it's, like there's always a counter to things, and that's why I think Kev was saying about it as well, right? Like he changes almost every single game, or it might have been Bob. Like somebody just has a different formation every game, and I just run the same one until it doesn't work, and then go, oh crap, what are we gonna do? and try and get out of it that way.
Do you use MFL Coach much to look at the formation meta?
I know the one
the
you're talking
matrix.
about. I looked at it once, looked across the screens, saw the most common tactics all look very, very, balanced, and then the ones that looked a little bit imbalanced had low data. So I went, well, it's not reliable yet, So I just think there's too many things that go into that. Like, is the 4-3-3 attack being played with a stronger lineup all the time? Because you want to play a little bit more aggressive if are people running that up? What percentage of that was actually in Diamond? What percentage of that was in Spark? Because a Spark team, playing those formations can be wildly, we're seeing at the moment, we've got rares in Spark versus, I think my team's got like 3 limiteds. So it's just, there's so much within that from a data perspective that I think it will, and it kind of gives you a guide, but I just think there's not enough difference in there to go, this is what I base it on. I mean, it'd be good to look at, and I think it's a cool tool, like the whole MFL coach and everything's great, but yeah, from a data perspective, I just don't think it's reliable enough yet to change what I do. And if it was, then everyone's going to change anyway, and then it's going to skew the data. It's a nice one to look at and interesting to see what people play, but I'm not too fussed.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great tool. It's probably not great to use as a Bible. I wanted to point out, I reference this site a lot. I use it a lot, and I continue to see upgrades and want to just shout him out because he does great work.
100%.
If you click on the link, you can get, I believe it's pulling friendlies, but you can get the breakdowns. So this is relatively new. Monkey Fire, shout out SR Monkey. And you can see the overall ratings and then the gaps, which to your point is something that I've looked at to see like, hey, is the defending team just always better? And the data is a little skewed. I think it only goes 15 deep. Maybe it goes deeper now. But yeah, some fun new things here. And love sharing tools. I know, like I said, I use this a lot. I use it for Opponent Finder. And I'll do sanity checks for formation meta to kind of figure out, like, am I just playing into a trap here where I'm running a formation that wins 20% of the time into a really strong alignment. But so that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I do want to talk a little bit more. You referenced it a little bit. The team that you share with your father. Can you just kind of kick us off, and then we'll go from there? How'd that start, and how's it going?
Yeah, so I think I'd signed up maybe like a week and a half before, and then we were heading up, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I think I'd played sort of like the season, and I was actually chatting with Calver because I was trying to loan in one of his players, and I was trying to smooth talk and be friendly. And I said to him, like, just as a passing comment, like I wasn't trying to, look at me. I said, if you ever want like a new perspective on the window, like happy to jump on. I was like, look, I do content here. I'm a teacher, I can talk, I think he heard teacher and was like, yes, we've got to get him in. 2 versus 1 against Jimbo. And then literally was like, yeah, do you want to do Sunday? I was like, oh crap. Like, I've been here for 3 weeks and now you're going to ask me questions. And funnily enough, I was going up that weekend to visit my parents. And so, getting up at 5 a.m., like if you go back and watch the episode, actually, it's hilarious. It's about like 35 minutes in. My mum is in the background, like in her pajamas. And she like quickly like ducks behind me because she knew I was recording and she was trying to open the curtains. So you can see her just like go, we're doing, and then like, it was hilarious. So we've like cut that and anyway, send that to all of our family. But yeah, so he was like, why are you getting up at 5 a.m. for like a podcast? Like, you weirdo. And I said, like there's this new game. And I said, how we used to play Football Managers back in the day? And like, I was playing a Premier League Manager in 97 when I was, 7 or 8. And like that was like, we started, like, the reason I support Chelsea is because I was playing, all the way back then. And he used to play them lots and he got me into them as well. And so I was trying to explain it, and like, he's not, anything to do with Web3. Like, I've come across kind of from So Rare, and I've played fantasy sports for ages. He hasn't played fantasy sports for a long time. To be honest, he's not really like following too much of football, but he's, coached quite a bit. He's an Arsenal fan, which is, not so great either. And so he was looking at it, and I said, it's like Football Manager. He went, oh yeah. Didn't think much of it. And I said, yeah, and you actually own the club. So you buy the club and it's yours. Like, you don't have to keep buying it every year. Uh-huh. He's like, what about the players? I said, oh, like, you buy the players. They're like, I said, it's like, when I used to play FIFA and you get a card, like, you buy that card. And at the time, they're only the cartoons. And he was like, oh yeah, okay. Started talking about it. I think he watched like 3 videos and he was like, okay, I'm signing up. So there's like a video I've got of him, I think on one of the videos I've got, where he's actually literally clicking in for the first time. And that was while I was there. So yeah, within like a day. And then he is, for lack of a better word, an addict. He will just, once he likes something, it's like full tilt. So like, he does he saw me doing this Lego reselling, and he's like, "Yeah, I like that. I'm going to do it." So he's got his own short store now. He sees his son playing a Football Manager game, and he went full tilt. So yeah, that's the long story, I guess. But he then decided that he wanted a couple of clubs, and then we talked about, hey, it'd be quite cool. Some other people are running clubs together. Maybe we'll do a club. So 30 minutes in Chat GPT later, came up with a name. I speak conversational Spanish, from a while back. So I was like, oh, we can kind of like make it like that. We found one in Argentina, so it kind of fits. And then got a logo, and away we went. So yeah, we bought it in at silver when you could still do the tank method.
Yeah.
And we were chucking in lobies, and then dropped it down. I think we bought it towards the end of the season, so get the MFL for the silver. We were actually trying to fill it in bronze, we just couldn't get anyone. Then it went to iron last season, I think, or 2 seasons ago. Yeah, there you go. There's like a massive history, like it's, yeah. I think that's what it was. And then basically it got relegated to stone, and then last season, in the first season, even though it was projected like 10th, got it promoted. So that was fun.
Nice. And fighting to stay in iron. So
yeah,
you guys are co-managing this. He has his own line, his own account. He's got teams as well.
Yeah, co-managing is a very loose term for he's given me his players and I'm doing everything.
Okay.
But the plan is that like we do kind of talk about it a little bit. We did a lot more with the setup. So his name's Cabbage. So if you just click on that, I don't even know how many clubs he's at. He's probably more than me at this stage. So that's his gamer name has always been Cabbage, which is funny enough. So everything's like a variety of cabbage. So you've got like Vietnamese cabbage, cabbage farm, everything. Yeah. And so he's kind of so he's got half of the there's so many.
Not Wrexham.
Yeah, not Wrexham. Yeah.
That's fun.
I think the only thing we both don't have is a team based in New Zealand, because I was looking for either Wellington or Napier, and like the cities that are here are places that aren't cities, so places we don't like. So we haven't got a New Zealand one yet.
Yeah, they gotta add some of the bigger spots. Tactics. So you're doing a lot of the tactics and setup and scouting for that team.
Yeah. So basically I just said, look, this is what has worked, and especially like last season when we were properly doing it for the first time, and he was kind of giving me a rough idea of his players. So most of his top guys are in with me.
Yep.
And I said, look, this is what I'm looking for. And then we kind of basically put a team together of, as many as we can. And then I think there were 2 or 3 that we had to loan in just to fill spots, either rotation pieces. And we did buy a couple to try and get that sort of stage. And then the idea with this one is that's actually going to be our top club, which is why I was kind of looking to sell La Pulga, and we basically will feed our guys into it. And that was the plan, is that's the one we try and focus on. But it's sort of, last season was a very strange anomaly in terms of everything just seemed to work, and then going up on the last day was pretty exciting. And this season, it's obviously we're pretty under strength for iron. Like I don't think we're projected last, but like the team is a lot weaker than I was even when I was projected last for La Pulga. And so it's definitely like we're not too worried if it gets relegated, but we'd like to stay up, and we are trying to focus a bit on the cup as well, and that's been a really good start again. So just trying to maximize the rev share and do as much as we can.
Yeah, you're right there. Seems like there's quite a few teams that are kind of with that mindset of fighting for these last couple spots. So it'll be a fun challenge as you go through the season. And then to your point, cups are always fun. So I'm noticing your cup teams seem to do quite well defensively. Do you feel like you set up with a defense first mindset?
Yeah, I think just in general, my team's pretty solid at the back, like in the way that I've set it up. Not that I'm trying to park a bus, but I am a Jose fan, so being a Chelsea fan. So I kind of, I think the whole thing is like defensively, you've got to be solid as well. And the last thing you need is losing game 6-0, which is why I found goal rush like impossible, because I'm nicking 1-0 wins, and then it was like score as many goals, and I was thinking, I don't know how to do that. I just know how to win, and that was the important part. So yeah, so it's trying to find I guess a good base, but it does seem to be the formation and the style that I play works really well in cups. I've had one of my Spark teams win 3 out of the 4 cups that they've been in, so like my original kind of club that I got out of a pack. I've run a number of cups and had some pretty good runs with it. And I also think the MFL from cups is really undervalued. The difference in league positions, sure, whether you finish 4th or 6th, but if you get a deep cup run, like that can be doubling your MFL rev, for that team. And particularly I'm trying to run my Sparks with the sort of the farm process and trying to get them up. If I focus on the cups, I don't have to worry too much. There's not really much relegation at the moment. I think one of my Spark teams earned 3,800 MFL last season, which is like, if you're looking to reinvest in a team and play sustainably, that's the way to go. So that's what I'm trying to do. Does it always work? No, not at all. But we only share the good things, right? You don't hear people on Discord when they've lost the cup. They only when they do well. So yeah, but generally, I think like I do pretty well in the cup.
Yeah. Echoing a point. So your iron team that you have, 10th place is 11,000 MFL. 6th place is 13,500. So the difference of 2.5 thousand MFL for 10th to 6th is pretty small, relatively. Obviously, the 10th would be a relegation. But I noticed that last year. I was like most likely going to finish middle of the pack. We got pretty far into the season. And I was doing well in the cup. I think I was in the quarters or the round of 16. And I realized a couple of the teams at the top 3 teams were really running away with it. And I realized, okay, if everything lines up, I probably have an outside shot at like 4th. And looked at the MFL opportunities that I had, and I was like, wait. Everything lines up perfectly. I gained like 2,000 MFL in Stone. And on the flip side, if I win one round of the playoff knockouts, I get 2,000 MFL. And I'm like, it makes way more sense. As long as I'm not in that relegation kind of battle fear, it makes way more sense to prioritize the cup. And that's not always the case, but if you don't have a real outlook at finishing like 1, 2, or 3, then for sure it matters to try and chase where the MFL is, where the reward is. So yeah, that's a great insight.
Yeah, and also like the group stage as well, trying to go strong early, I think is really important, because if you can pick up 3 wins off your first 3, or I think a couple of my teams have 7 points, you're going to beat the stronger ones, and then all of a sudden you see somebody who gets no points from the first 3 games. What are they going to do? I'm out of the cup, so they're going to play their rotation team. So you can play a rotation team and still beat them. And then all of a sudden you've played 5 games, you've got a freebie, and that's where I've got my 5 under the cap rating. They're all going in, and all my guys are getting rested for league. So it kind of does that. The other thing as well that people underestimate is the number of extra games you're getting for progression. And I think that's not talked about enough in terms of, anyone that's had a deep cup run are getting good progression. Like if you look at my Barky boys, like I've gone back and looked at them, a lot of the guys have gone +1 from the final, and okay, that might just be where they're at, but that is what says in the white paper: a deep cup run, lot of games, good performances, which if you're winning games, you're going to get. That I think all adds up as well. And so, yeah, I think that's the best way, particularly for someone who's starting smaller and wants to come in at Spark, or, they've just got a trial club. You just should be just focusing on the cup. It doesn't really matter if you go down to Flint or you go up to Spark. Like that's not really a thing at the moment. It's just, I think the cups are going to be where you get it. And because there's not much relegation, at least currently, maybe next season there might start to be a bit more if more people buy in. But I had a Spark team finish 11th last season and didn't go down because they had, it was like, well, that was fine. So, there's no point for me trying to focus to get to 10th rather than 12th. I may as well just have a good cup run.
Yeah, exactly. Identifying kind of
but
where
no one target me in the league, please.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, one of the big things that I really wanted to chat with you about is I've seen you mention in Discord quite a few times talking about scouting, targeting weakness, and like a team's weakness, right? So like they have a really weak right back or really weak right mid, or their striker is slow, something along those lines. I've seen a couple times. Can you kind of walk us through um, like a recent example, and then like how you're adjusting to that, like what tactical changes you're making to target like a left back or a striker, just recent example.
Maybe not as recent, but and Trust will hate me for doing this. But I had a playoff match against him, and I kind of know when I've got a Trust team in my league, he's not looking at tactics as much, just the nature of it, right? So I target him. But yeah, in the playoff match, like in particular, and I said it to him as well. I said, I noticed that I think it was like you're saying, like a left back was suspended to play as backup, and then the backup had really low pace, and I had really fast swingers. So I went target that side, and I think I won 3-0 and got promoted. Or I think actually it was my La Pulga. I avoided relegation. Sorry, so he was going to get promoted, and it was one of his teams he wanted to get promoted. So that was like an example of, just knowing who the manager is was quite good. I don't have the time to do that for every team, but it is trying to find, like I said, it's small margins. Like that team we showed before where I was losing 1-0. Realistically, I just need to go, okay, where do they get their goals from? What was coming through? Because at least the return fixture, I could get a point. Because every point for me in bronze is going to be really important this season.
Yeah.
So if they've got, I can see they're still in the cup. That's another one I look at. Other teams still in the cup. Because then if they're still in the cup later on in the season and you're playing them 3 or 4 games to go, they're probably playing their strongest lineup in the cup. And if you're out of the cup, so targeting that. And so it's not necessarily I'm clicking into every squad, looking in match reports and doing all that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to find, as quick as possible, some type of advantage. I often find as well that people look at projections and go, oh, you're projected 11th. I'm going to run my rotation. And there's times where I've beaten top of the table with a very low ranked team because I've just run my strongest lineup and they've played a rotation. And so I think looking at what team, so if you're struggling with the results, picking 3 or 4 teams that you're like, okay, I'm close to these guys, try and get them when they're playing a rotation team. You're playing full strength. Is kind of how I do it. I don't know if there's any particular method, but it's just trying to find, like I said, any little advantage with the time that I have.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All good. Kind of target points, quick target points. I think that's one of them.
Sorry, I was just saying I don't do a lot of testing. Like, that's one thing that, I know some people run like 100 friendlies to start the season and they're doing an analysis breakdown. I basically go, who was a team in my league last season that I found hard to beat? Okay, what little adjustments can I make? I've got the same type of team. It seems to do well. And then I'll just play like 4 friendlies against them, look at which one worked the best and go, yep, I'm going to run with that. And it generally does work. It's kind of like overthinking things. I don't know what's the diminishing returns. I don't know if that's the right economic term, but like, the more time you're spending, you're not getting, like, it's kind of levels out. And I think, just that little bit that you can do is probably the biggest difference that hopefully helps my teams.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And to your point, testing helps with like big things, but like if somebody has a fast winger that's a problem, it can be really hard to find like a good mirror to where it's like, oh, all of their stats are kind of similar. And I've certainly had times that I've just tried to test against like shutting down a fast winger, and then the team that I play, maybe I'm trying to test like against a formation, and the friendly team that I'm testing against has a fast winger, and the fast winger is beating me up at friendlies, and then I play the team in the actual league match, and the winger is not as fast or not as much of a problem, but they have some other strength, and I'm like, I've targeted the wrong thing. So yeah, for sure, you can get stuck, kind of chasing ghosts, for example. Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense to kind of think bigger and then work back as applicable, for sure. So where do you see yourself and kind of your teams going? You have quite a few teams, and some hopes to avoid relegation. Where do you see yourself going kind of the next couple seasons?
Yeah, so I think when I first started off, I liked the idea of multi-clubs. I didn't see, from at least what I was looking at, that one club was going to be a sustainable way to play. Like particularly at the moment with that strength creep that everyone's talking about, you aren't getting the rev share to replace players in iron or bronze or above, realistically, unless you are overpaying for players to finish, and getting promoted. But then you're overpaying, so that's I don't think the way of replenishing if you're just trying to do things through packs and things. Obviously, you can progress players and move players on. I think that's a way to play. But I think for me, I saw kind of that common farm method of buying commons and progressing them and moving them up that way. I haven't seen as much progression as I probably would have liked from that. I've got one guy that's gone like plus 20, but then he's just tanked and hasn't progressed at all this season. And I'm a bit gutted because I had a good offer on him that I was like, no, I'm going to hold him. And he's still got time to progress, but I enjoy that more than making $1 or $2 out of it. Like that doesn't seem to me to be that fun. So I think it's kind of probably trimming down a little bit in terms of the commons that I get, particularly at the moment, because you can sell a pack for $2 and you can buy a good limited 25-year-old for $1. And I don't get that. Like I think people haven't quite cottoned on to that yet. And so yeah, well, at least maybe in the mid-season when everyone's selling stuff. But that to me was like, I was thinking I was going to have all this amazing progression when I was buying common packs at $3 and selling an 18-year-old 45 for $20. But now it's kind of, I think the market's kind of corrected itself a bit. So trying to play sustainably, trying to slowly probably trim down to, I think 8's probably where I'd like to be at for clubs. And I think I figured out better ways of playing 18-man lineups rather than a 22 or 23. So trying to do that, slim down, and then probably move some of my rears on and probably the top club. That was kind of the plan this season, but I just think prices are too low. But hopefully, all the trial clubs out there, buy teams, please. There's a bronze team, if you like it. Hit me up on Discord. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. I think I enjoy that kind of strength in numbers and then progress. And like I said, with my old man, we're trying to make the Padre be the one that we promote up.
Yep, that makes sense. I think everyone has that dream. They want that Vidic or that plus 40 common player, but they're like
common to ultimate or whatever it was. Yeah,
yeah, they're so rare. And then even when they happen, it happens over like 8 or 9 seasons. And I'm as guilty of this as anybody, but like you want it to happen instantly, or you at least want the like plus 10 instantly. And it like Quan is a good example from Ron John's agency. Like the guy started, I think, is 26 or 27-year-old, and now he's a 94, but he's like 34 years old. It's he's at the end of his career, so to speak, and it's taken some time. And he climbed up the ranks, and he's an exception to the rule. It's not like, oh, every 27-year-old's just going to go plus 10. So it's tough. You got to be patient. You got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it seems to be those guys that are doing that big progression, like you're saying, is taking over 7 or 8 seasons. Mm-hmm. And then the hard part for that is when do you actually sell? Like, because if you've got somebody and you're like, oh, they've gone up plus 10, they're going to go up plus 10 this season, or, and there was a guy that I bought, I think he was like 52 rated or 53 rated when I got him. He just had okay shooting and I needed a striker. So I bought him for $2 or something. I think I ended up selling him. He had a retirement tag already, but he'd gone up plus like 16. So he had like plus 1 for the first 4 seasons and then just took off. And even after I sold him, he still went up like plus 4. And he was retiring the following season, so you just don't know with players. And that's the great thing about the game is it's very unpredictable. And that's what people like, and there's a degen in all of us, as I like to say. You see that plus 2 in the first 2 games and you're buying, and then, I think Calva had a guy, right? Which, sorry, Calva. But, he bought him thinking he's going to keep going and he's just flatlined. And, there's guys that do no progression and all of a sudden they have plus 10 in a season. So, yeah, that's the nice thing about it. You don't know. You hope for the best. And I think, playing with the amount of players that I've got in clubs, it's kind of all going to level out. I'm going to have guys that don't do anything, but they're still going to fill a role in the team, and guys that sort of take off. And I'll try and move them on, but we like to hold on to them, don't we?
Yeah, it's the hardest part. You mentioned you played So Rare. Like you're like, oh, I think this guy's gonna overperform, and then they overperform and their price goes up, and you're like, yeah, but they're smashing, they're killing it. Like
Yeah,
I can't.
I don't. Gotta get that streak.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the hardest part. I think the safest, least degen way to do it is to kind of set parameters. Like if this guy goes to 73 overall, like I'm selling him.
Yeah, and that's probably what I'm trying to do with like my top guys. I think, like I think anything beyond iron at the moment is, for me, I don't think sustainable. Like there's some people that will, but there's a lot that probably won't. And with the retirements kicking in, I think that's going to be the biggest shift that we see, and it'll be whether people want to put more money in, which I think they probably will. And I think the trial clubs has been a brilliant idea to actually get people in. Because I think once you play for a season, you're hooked, and you're like, take my money, and I think, the team just do such a good job with it. And it's such a good community that why wouldn't you stay around? So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Buy more clubs, people.
Yeah. Yeah. Those two pillars are so important. The dev team does a really good job at like looking at the right things, and then the community is so strong. And we have such strong community pillars to thank for that. Talking with Jimbo, I think everyone gets introduced to Jimbo so quickly. He's on the website. And then once you talk to him further and realize that like the biggest thing that motivates him is to just strengthen and build up the community. And it's not just like, oh, I like doing this and it's fun. He really has like he wants to build up the community, and you can understand like why the community pillar in this game is so strong is he's invested in it, which is fantastic. And we're all so lucky that he's one of the big community pillars.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that actually hooked me in from the start. Like Calvin and Jimbo were willing to give some random guy from New Zealand, a chance to talk on their podcast 3 weeks in with probably no idea what he was doing. I don't even want to go watch it back, to be honest, because I'm like, I don't know what I said. But like that was really cool, and like I still chat with Calvin now. In fact, like we're talking about, because we're both teachers, like what's like life's like, and just all that sort of stuff. Jimbo's just too busy for me now, so no. Like there's so many people out there that are doing really good things, and I think because that's the core group that played it as a game first and foremost. Like, sure, you can make it an investment if you want to, but we talked about that. Like, it's first and foremost a game, so that's really good. And then the game is set up to be social. You have to loan people in at some point, and you have to work with other managers, and then you're trying to do. And I think that'll just increase with delegating clubs and all the things that they're trying to build in. So it just works, and there's people you won't like, and then you just don't send people to them or whatever. Like for the majority, like 95% of people that I've interacted with are really wanting to help you out, go above and beyond. And that makes it a nice place, and then you want to talk about it more because people are welcoming you into a community. So I think as long as that's probably the only thing to manage with a lot of people coming in for the first time, is it's going to be overwhelming for a lot of people, and it's just making sure that everyone remembers, even though we've played this game for maybe however long, that people are coming for the first time, they're going to ask those questions that you asked. So people like to get on their high horse and be like, oh, how could you ask this question? And it's like, I'll go back 4 months and find out where you said it in. So I think going, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, Discord keeps receipts, so that's very easy.
It does, yes.
I want to backtrack as well. I credited Jimbo, and I should credit Calvin as well. They were certainly a partnership and a duo, and that was not intentional.
It's good. Then both of them offered a role to start with, and it's like obviously Calvin with the wee one on the way, but like you're saying, like there's different people that you're going to connect with, and like I know the guys doing the Yorkshire Tea and XP. I haven't actually had a chance to even sit down, but I really appreciated Big Mr. K's videos and trying to get into those, and like I know Nep's still kicking on with things, and obviously like Laird's really jumping in and part of Laird's community. So like it's all these different things that are part of the community, I think is just, it's a very natural, well built game, and the sky's the limit, really. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
One of the other things that I like is that we mentioned like different communities, but they are also so intertwined. Where they all chat with each other, or they're all very
yeah,
friendly. Like they're not like these like thinking of like the Outsiders or like the Warriors movies, and they're like they're these separate groups that like hate each other. Like they're all quite friendly and cordial, and they have their separate discords, but everyone is in each other's discords. I think
yeah, it's really good. The only thing that I found with that is, Goal Rush was like picking between parents,
yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I want to be in the window. I was like, the Ramble Boys, like, Kier's been, and I was like, I'm like, who do I pick? And then I just went very selfishly and went, okay, which one do I think has less people and I have more chance of a reward? Not realizing the Ramble Boys were actually a lot less. And I just clicked in early, and then I probably should have gone the Ramble to get more chance of a reward, but that's okay. And everyone still should love me, but I did see that Zooturts now blacklisted me. So hopefully the Dutch don't hold on to things too long. And he can give me some players back at some point, because I didn't know who to pick. I just picked like who I'm more active with, and obviously like patron saints and things. And so I was like, I'm just sharing the love around,
Yeah, that
Anyway,
was
so
kind of a
yeah.
cruel trick. I joked that they split the English speakers several different ways and made it very tough on us. The French community got one easy,
Got one,
nice.
yeah, and just the way they went. So yeah, but no, I think like it was quite cool to see, and yeah, I to be honest, I didn't contribute much at all. To be honest, I think I did a lot of games and there wasn't a lot of goals. So yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of fun though.
you mentioned that. I ended up getting very lucky. I stumbled into something, and I was like, I'm not touching anything because I don't think I can score goals, but this seems to be working. So funny for me how that lasted. But any other thoughts, closing remarks, or anything you wanted to chat about?
Just looking at what we said.
We did not follow an order by any means, but
We
I thought
covered
we,
everything, so that was good.
yeah,
No, I just think like I mean, giving you a shout out as well for starting this series up. Like, as I said to you before, like I haven't been able to get through every single one. It's just like my
yeah,
time is so stretched at the moment with everything.
yeah,
I can't even do my own content. But it's just all the different community creators. Like, it's a variety of things to talk about, because otherwise you're just going to be talking about the one thing. To be honest, the one thing I think everybody wants to talk about is specific tactical breakdowns, and no one wants to share their secret sauce. So that's the only thing I think that's missing from a content one. But I think, putting a face to a name's been really cool. And I know everyone's sort of jumping in different things, but yeah, the more people that you can get on and share things. I do think as well we've got to do and maybe you get someone on for that. Meet the manager and you flip around and we ask you questions. So that could be a good episode at some point. Maybe a special milestone. But I think the whole process for it and meeting managers, I think is really cool. I know the Windhoek boys do the manager spotlight, but having a specific focus on one manager's way of doing things, I think is really good for new people who are trying to figure out what they want to do. And I know when I started off, I was just trying to copy Trust, and then went, no, I like results too much. I can't be having teams relegated. So I've kind of found my cap, I think, for clubs now.
Yeah, it's funny. I had not heard Trust's strategy when I started, and so I started with kind of like a traditional strategy of like throwing stuff together and trying to win. And then I heard Trust on Laird's show, and I was like, he's a genius. I need to do what he's and then I kind of like dialed back to mirror it a little bit, but like didn't go all the way in because I'm with you. I'm wanting to win, and I'm a sore loser and hate losing, and that's hard. So I went through kind of a wave period where I was like, I know what makes the most sense. I'm having trouble kind of really following that strategy. So that's one of the things that's incredible to me about Trust, is that he is able to stick with the process through and through. But yeah, it's been fun ride. Game's awesome.
100%.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on. I know we had our challenges, but yeah, thank you again, and good luck to you the rest of the season.
No, thanks for having me on, and all the best.
Yeah, thanks.